people. Newbie here again. Episode number 6 of this build, of this layout, of this N-scale train that who knows where we're going to go with this. But, man, is it looking good. Now, first of all, those of you who have not, if this is the first time seeing this channel, I suggest you go back. This is, like I say, this is episode number 6. And if you haven't looked at the 5 previous videos, then go do that. And keep up with us, so to speak. But this episode is about a couple of progress points. One, this is the mountains. One of the things that just jumps right out at me is if you look at the layout here, you see that big yellow wall in the back of the layout. And so I wanted to do something about that. And so what I did about that was I go online and I look for what is available to fix that gaping problem of that big yellow wall behind the layout. Supposedly we're in the mountains here, so I came across this. I don't know if I found it on a railroad site or one of those auction sites, but you see, it's pretty much what we need to get rid of that big yellow wall. Well, one of the problems with it that I didn't realize until I got here, I measured the distance from the cabinet you see on the right, which is basically just above where that yellow building is, all the way around to the corner. And this just fits that perfectly. But as I got it here and laid it out like you see here, it doesn't work. Because that peak right in the middle of this, I want in that gaping hole right above the area there where that yellow building is sitting. And to do that, it's not going to reach all the way to around the corner to that other wall. But I think that's important. I think it's important that significant part in the center of this diorama be right in that cutout, if you will, above those cabinets. So that's what I'm going to do. And here you see I've done it. The way I did this was, you can see the tape, and by the way, that blue tape down at the bottom, that's going to be covered by scenery. My plan is that's going to be a mountainside that will come all the way across the backdrop there. You won't see that, but actually I put this on, I made a cardboard template, cut the template out to fit the area, and then I laid the backdrop on the cardboard and cut it to fit the shape of the area that I wanted. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm not real pleased with my ability to finish the edges, so to speak, but it's okay. It'll be fine. That's, I think, the way it's probably going to end up. Now I do have one issue with it. There's a light switch just right around the corner there, and that light switch controls lights that are on the left side of the picture here, and I need to cut out that light switch so that I can access that and turn those lights on and off, because I like those lights. I think they add a significant point to that side of the layout. Okay, next thing that we've accomplished is in looking at the area of the trestle. When I got ready to cut out a hole, and you see here that I've laid the trestle out the way I want it, and I've got some tracks stacked up on on wood blocks there. But the whole idea is that the trestle will be actually higher than seen in this picture, because the track has to meet the top of that white foam there on the right. So I'm going to have to build the trestle up a little bit so that it's equal, even with the track, even with where the track comes out of the tunnel there on the right. And then it'll go into the tunnel just right across the trestle and go back down and loop around and come back out where that flex track is you see there, or I'm sorry, that unit track you see there. And so the idea here was to cut out that hole and make it big enough for the trestle. I told myself when I was getting ready to do that, I said, self, don't worry about how big you make it, because you're going to be filling it in with backdrop, with scenery and everything else. So you really can't make it too big, but you can make it too small. Well, guess what? I made it too small. As you see here, the trestle is right against the wood supports on both sides, and it's actually angling a little bit to get it in there. I got it sitting on some foam there, but the bottom line is that cutout is too small. I've got to go back and do it all over again, which would probably, you think, well, that's really not a big problem, just get out the saw and cut it. But you see that base is basically the size of the top, and when I cut it out bigger, how do I attach it? So I'm going to have to build some framework or something to make that work. But yeah, if it's not one thing, it's another, right? So the whole idea of where we are with the rest of the layout, you see here that it's all coming together pretty nicely. I've got the grade done up to the mountain area. That area as you see on the right here, is going to, of course, be in tunnel around to coming out there at the trestle. And the stacked up foam that you see in the back corner there is where the coal mine goes. Speaking of mountains, AnyRail has a 3D feature that will help some of you see what I've been talking about. I don't know why I haven't shown it to you before, but it's really puts into perspective. Now, the pictures that are shown here aren't really as high as I plan in the mountain area, but this gives you an idea of what the mountainous terrain will look like, where the tunnels will go. And you see that the dotted lines are tunnels, and the solid lines are, of course, exposed. So it's going to be, I think it's going to look pretty good. I'm excited to get to that point of actually being able to visualize, if you will, what the true layout dimensions are going to be in 3D. I want to make the mountain pretty high, because the bottom line is there's got to be a reason for a tunnel. Railroads would not tunnel through an area that could easily be cut through. So if it can't be cut through, then they have to tunnel. So because of that, I wanted to have a very high mountain, so it's obvious that the train had to tunnel through it. So that's where I'm going with that. That grade going up there is, yeah, it's probably a little too steep. I had to have a pretty steep grade. It's probably not going to work well for the engines in pulling long trains up there, but at the same time, I don't plan to run long trains. The train length is really limited by the size of the yard area, and so I really can't have a train longer than will fit in the yard, really. I guess I can make other sidings that are long enough, but that's kind of the deciding factor is the area in the yard. And of course the yard is not really very big, so not going to be long trains. Anyway, the other thing about trains is the train length is dictated by the length of the reverse loops, and I'm going to have 2 reverse loops in here, and so I can't have a train that's longer than the reverse loops. The train has to be fully contained within the reverse loop for the reverse loop to work well, from what I understand. So that's where we are today. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, and I really would appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel. It's easy to do. Just click on the red button on the lower right, if there is a red button, which hopefully there is. If not, you can just go into YouTube, type in A Model Railroad Newbie, and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it, and I hope you're enjoying it. And you can comment and let me know what you think, and we'll see what happens.